Hey, good day to you, everybody. It is Wednesday when I'm recording this, Wednesday morning, and thankfully we are waking up here with a little bit better news on our pride and prince of the golf world, Tiger Woods. Thankfully, it looks like he's going to survive, which is the first step in this process. Again, if you checked out my other video, my PGA DFS Top 5 Sleepers for the Workday, you heard me talk about this a little bit, so I won't spend that much time on it here in this article. In fact, we're just going to go right into my top 5 fades. And listen, I gotta find something that is gonna break this streak, as my fades recently, they haven't been great. I'm not gonna lie, can't hide it. That's what happens when you put out the information each and every week. Kim Tringale ended up with a pretty good week, high scoring last week. Matt Fitzpatrick ended up in the top 5. Xander Schauffele. Maybe Xander Schauffele and Dustin Johnson weren't as bad of fades as they could have been, because I played a lot of Patrick Cantlay and Jordan Spieth because of it, who measured up to those two guys and actually had much less salary attributed to them. So maybe those two fades weren't great, but the fact that Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau missed the cut kind of makes them bad fades, because if you had played those guys and faded McIlroy DeChambeau, you would have been so far above the curve. Last guys, Brendan Todd, he had an okay week, not a great week, so that was not a bad fade. Now, I think it's important again that I mention that this fade video doesn't mean I'm going to have 0 of these golfers. It just means that when I do my lineups and I look at the projected ownership that Awesemo is giving me, and I compare it to my actual allocation, these are just my largest underweights. That doesn't mean we'll start off with Billy Horschel. He's projected at 16% owned, and he's my 5th biggest fade here this week. I have him somewhere around 5 to 10% owned. So that's about a 10% less than what the field's going to have. However, for me, 16% owned, I just don't see it. The form was really relying heavily on his off the tee and his putting through the good stretch here in the beginning of the season. The irons have been terrible. I don't think he drives the ball long enough here for him to really gain that many strokes off the tee. Of course, I think he's a great putter, which means at 7,000 in a no-cut event, I think he's an okay play. But I think you have more GPP upside with somebody like a Victor Perez, who I mentioned in my top 5 DFS Sleepers video. Even if you go down a little lower to, say, Cameron Champ, Sebastian Munoz, I think the upside is there versus Horschel. That's why I only found myself to about 5% this week. The next guy, my 4th biggest fade of the week, is Jason Kokrak. Here's a guy that I actually, when prices first came out, I saw as one of the best values on the slate. At $7,100, he was about $1,000 less than what he was last time. And remember, he was part of my value video. I did this when I first started coming out with them, where sometimes they'd end up on the value section, which was my first video of the week, and then by the end of the week, they'd end up on my fade section. That's happening here with Kokrak. Now again, I'm going to play Kokrak in cash game settings. I think he's a standard good option. I think his ball striking is in good form right now, so I think he has a decent start. But again, I think that the upside is capped a little bit with him. We know that he relies on his putter to get to the upside. Well, pretty much everybody does. He has good ball striking, ranked 50th off the tee and 103rd this year. But you can see the putting is what's been carrying him 16th on the season. That is certainly going to regress, and it looked like it did at Riviera, the Genesis, last week. So I don't want to be too overexposed. I'll be somewhere in the 8 to 10% owned range this week. My 3rd fade is, I'll tell you what, if my buddy and boss man, Alex Awesemo Baker, is watching this, Alex, you might want to press mute here for a little bit, because my 3rd fade is Justin Rose. Now, here's the guy, listen, coming in off of his 2nd place finish in Saudi Arabia. That sounds great. It looked great, but listen, it was strokes gained putting that he did it. That's how he's been doing it the last couple of years, because his form, really, since becoming #1 golfer in the world, which was after his Farmers Insurance Open win 2 years ago, he's really struggled. He's gone all the way back now. I think he's ranked 35th here coming into the week, and it's because his ball striking has been absolutely horrendous. He let go of his coach, I think it was Sean Foley, if I'm not mistaken, and now is doing it himself, and it doesn't seem like the results are there yet. 208th ranked off the tee and 109th on the approach. So if his off the tee game is not fixed this week and he's spraying it left and right, he's going to be hitting 3 from the fairway after dropping, or 3 from the tee, depending on where he crosses the hazard line. He'll have a lot of water balls this week if that off the tee game isn't fixed, and I don't think it is yet. So it's an easy fade for me, as Rose coming in at 18% owned this week. That's just way too much. I will take the under. Okay, my 4th or 2nd biggest fade, maybe Justin Rose is pretty close to it. These two guys are real close. Actually, the last 3 are all real close. probably have the most of the last guy. But let's talk about Webb Simpson first. 9,100. He's taken the last few weeks off. Doesn't play in the West Coast that much. Very consistent, right? 84th off the tee, 91st on approach, 26th around the green, and 13th putting. But at 9,100 in this field at 20% owned, I don't think there's a reason to it. Plus, I don't think there's a reason why 20% of the people want to own him and only 4% of the people want to own Collin Morikawa. I don't think he's playing that much better than Collin Morikawa. I don't think he's playing that much better than Patrick Reed or Daniel Berger, and both of them have lower projected ownership. So there's just no need for me to go out and get overweight on Webb Simpson. The last couple of tournaments, he's actually been under-owned, somewhere around the 12 to 13% range. I think it's a fine spot to play him. But at 9,100 at 20% owned with the golfers around him, I'll take the fade. I'll get back on the fade Webb Simpson train. I had been the conductor of it. I passed that mantle on to my buddy Ben Raza, and now I am going to join him again here this week. Webb Simpson, my second biggest fade. Now, the biggest fade name-wise and price-wise, not by ownership allocation. I have just about 13% of him right now. It's Tony Finau. Now, listen, I'm a big fan of Tony Finau. I think everybody is at this point. I don't think me saying I'm a big fan is really a shock to anybody. I think everybody's a big fan of Tony Finau, or most people are. But I will say, of all the post-round interviews that I've ever watched, of specifically Tony Finau and maybe of most other golfers, he looked visibly hurt by not getting it done there at Riviera. Now, is that going to dismantle his game that he said is in the best form of maybe his entire career? It's tough to say. I would say likely no, but if there's anything to get him out of the form he is in, it's the mental side of things. Obviously, he has the ability and talent to do it, but if the mental side is not good right now because he's a little distraught from not winning last week, then this might be a good fade opportunity. $9,800. He's priced up with DeChambeau, Cantlay, Schauffele, all of the premium golfers that we know has probably a bit more win equity than Tony Finau. So for me, I think it's an easy switch. I'll just go over to Bryson, who's roughly the same price, lower owned as well. Even Victor Hovland, who's $600 cheaper here this week, or $400 cheaper, I'm sorry, and probably in just as good form as Finau, lower ownership as well. So I will take the fade here this week. I will ride that. I know it's a scary one, probably the one of the scarier ones I've done, fading Tony Finau, especially at higher ownership, knowing that the win is probably going to come when I'm not playing him. So, all right, folks, that's going to do it here for my PGA DFS top 5 fades for the WGC Workday Championship. Of course, like and subscribe to make sure you get notified when these videos come live. I do about 3, 4, maybe even 5 each and every week. And, of course, if you're looking for more, you want the live show, you want to come join us, chat with Ben and I, tonight, 7:45, live before lock, right here on the Awesemo YouTube channel. Check us out then. And until then, everybody, let's pray for a quick, speedy recovery for Tiger Woods. If we can get him on the golf course again, that's fantastic. If we can get him in the PGA Tour event again, it's probably pipe dreaming at this point, but at least, hopefully, we will have his presence around for quite some time if all goes well. So, until next time, everybody, thank you for joining me on my PGA DFS Top 5 Fades for the WGC Workday, and we will see you on the other side. Cheers.